I'm thinking how to approach this topic because it is very deep, very broad, very big, very giant. And I thought I had a great idea. So now I have to make that great idea something that I can share with you. The question that I have been getting quite frequently over the last couple of weeks, it's actually a quite frequent question, but in the last few weeks, it has definitely been brought up. And that is, what happens, or what is it like on the other side of the veil? Are my loved ones okay? So, if you have watched me or listened to me or spoken to me, you will know that I don't believe that we have just one life trajectory, that this isn't the only version of Marin that is out there, just like it isn't the only version of you that is out there. Marin, my hair and my mouth and my face and my hands, my body, just as tangible and just as real, is playing out every single scenario, every single decision, every single choice, every single experience I could possibly play out. That's going to be like trillions. And it's playing out simultaneously. Now, whether a version of me dies at inception, or is aborted, or is miscarried, or dies of a childhood disease, or a car accident, or whatever it is, at any time, so whether it's the very beginning or the very end, and we're going to pretend the end is 108. I use that number often. It doesn't mean that's the end all be all, obviously, but I'm just using that as a number. No matter what age it is, it fizzles out all at the exact same time. So all of these different trajectories of me are playing out these experiences and finishing and completing together at the same time, simultaneously, just like I'm playing it out right now. The way that that can happen is that time and space doesn't work the same outside of the veil. And we have to remember that the veil is actually created by our own brain. Our brain is creating the veil. Oh, hold on, I gotta write a note quick, because this is another question I need to answer. There'll be another video. Hold on. I actually recorded the answer on my walk to that one earlier, but for some reason I just remembered it. Now I have to make a note to myself to do it. So, because we are playing out all of these different scenarios, we are not leaving this life with lessons we didn't learn. We are not leaving this life with karma that we are going to have to come back and rectify. There's nothing that we did that was incomplete. And when all of these lives come together, when all of these versions of Marin, when all of these trajectories of decision come together at the end, we're going to pretend it creates kind of like an orb that is whole and complete. So if we think of our overarching consciousness as a symphony, And our life is just one note in this grand symphony. And our little orb is here, and it's our little music note, and it goes up, and it joins in the symphony. It's a very important note because it's part of another whole. It's part of something grand and beautiful and has so much depth. Has music ever moved you to tears? Has music ever just filled you? And you're crying and you don't even know why. That everything has come together, that there's something inside so much bigger, so much grander than love. And you can't put your finger on it. You can't describe it. Magnify that feeling infinitely. That glorious feeling. When we are living this life, we are experiencing good and bad. Just making it very simple here, good and bad. We have trajectories that know and experience the depths of despair. We have trajectories that might know an easier life. Every trajectory has ups and downs. Every trajectory kind of goes like this. So we have goods and bads. Some of the trajectories are not easy. But all of the trajectories create the whole. The trajectories that aren't easy create depth. It creates balance. And in the end, it creates something bigger than love. Love is earthbound. Love is a statement that we use. And when we say, I can't tell you how much I love you, because love doesn't go deep enough sometimes. That's what's being created on the other side of the veil, is something beyond humility, something beyond love, something that the word compassion doesn't even touch. And so your loved ones are in something, someplace that is beyond description. And they're not being punished, and they're not being held in limbo, and they're not having to take a time out, and they're not having to recover. They don't need to recover. They're instantly there. And they remember. And they have total understanding. They see the whole. They have total comprehension. They have consciousness. Because our consciousness continues, because that's what we carry from here. And our consciousness grows and expands. And if we have another life experience, that life experience is whole and complete. When we talk about past lives, that past life is whole and complete. Now, sometimes we get past life memories and we just get snippets, just like we get snippets here. It's like remembering the first day of first grade. We don't remember every single detail of the first day of first grade. And actually, there's so many different ways we could look at that. Our memory might go into different versions of that day. And so when we remember past lives, that's what we're doing. We're just getting snippets, just a snippet of a life that is whole and complete. And that life, that past life or other life experience, goes up into the symphony that is you. And your symphony is part of a grander symphony. And it is intelligent, and it has consciousness. It's very hard to describe because what's on the other side of the veil, my brain has to translate into something that I can describe and share with you. Just as anybody else describing what they see or have seen or witnessed on the other side of the veil, whether they had a death experience or a near-death experience or however they got there. Their brain has to translate that information into something recognizable here on Earth, something that we can communicate and share. So sometimes people say, oh, there are buildings. I saw my aunt and she was in perfect condition. She looked like she was 20 years old. She was like in the perfect body. I've heard people say the streets were lined with gold. Those are translations of frequency that they experienced, because we are a frequency. And all of this is very simply put. I mean, just I'm making it as easy for me to understand. So if it's easy for me to understand, hopefully it's easy for you to understand. But our brain has to take these frequencies and turn them into something translatable, something recognizable, something we can communicate here, even with ourselves. So what is it like on the other side of the veil? The other side of the veil is absolutely magnificent. And what's happening right now, why are we down here? We're playing an important role that creates a musical note, a very important musical note, that becomes part of our symphony. It's not necessarily music, like I said. I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm envisioning and I'm trying to, without breaking into tears, describe what I see and what I feel. It's like the colors are beyond anything that our earthbound spectrum can pick up. While at the same time, there is no color. It's ethereal dark that is just as beautiful and magnificent. And you're part of this, like, I know this sounds so not sexy, a mycelium layer. You're part of a mycelium layer that is just connected, and all that you love, everyone you love, is there. And while they're there, because they're there, and you're here, while they're there and you're here, they haven't forgotten you. There's consciousness and intelligence, and they love you far more than you could ever know. At least while we're here. So our life here is important, the good and the bad, and it creates the whole. And there's nothing you're going to be punished for. There's nothing they were punished for. There's nothing they have to come back down here and replay. It is something far beyond compassion. So that is my translation for today on what it is like on the other side of the veil. And maybe on another day during a fireside chat, or when you and I get to talk again, I might have another analogy that I might use. But for today, we got a symphony.